A very warm good morning to all of you. Dear students, once again, I would like to welcome all of you to a new session of the Civics class. Today, with this class, we are going to wind up this chapter which we are discussing from the last week onwards. The same chapter, chapter number 4, the Supreme Court, part 12. Do you remember what we were discussing in the last class? In the last class, we were discussing about court of record. What is meant by court of record and what are the different benefits of having such a facility in our judiciary system? And today, we are going to discuss a new point, that is administrative and supervisory functions. We have studied about different elements related to the Supreme Court and its functions and its different jurisdiction even we have discussed. And today we are going to discuss about the administrative, how the administration of the Supreme Court is taking place and some of the important factors related to the administrative and supervisory function we are going to discuss today. So without wasting time, let's move to the class. Administrative and supervisory functions. Appointments of officials and staff of Supreme Court is being done by Chief Justice of India or such judges as he may direct. I repeat, appointments of officials and staff of Supreme Court is being done by the Chief Justice of India or such judges as he may direct. Okay, so only with the support of or only with the presence of judges, it is not possible to function a court. A court needs the support of officials and staff like clerk, peons, so many number of posts are there who are working in Supreme Court for the smooth full functioning of the court. So, appointment of those officials and staff, it is the responsibility of the Chief Justice of India or the Chief Justice of India is making those appointments. Suppose if he is not free or if he is engaged with some other busy matters, he will be giving the charge of appointing these officials and staff to some other judges and they will do it. That's what is meant by such judges as he may direct. So he will be directing some judges and they will make these appointments. So that's the first point related to the administrative functions of the Supreme Court. Second one, Supreme Court makes rules regarding the conduct of advocates and other persons appearing before it. Okay, there are certain rules and regulations. If we go to the court, we can see there are certain rules and regulations regarding how to behave in the court. Code of conduct in the court. So, the code of conducts of advocates and the people who are appearing before the court. The rules and regulations regarding all those, it is the responsibility of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court is having its own rules and regulations for advocates and other persons who are appearing before it. There are certain ways to behave. For example, if we go to the court, we are not supposed to use our gestures. We are having a habit of using our hands while we speak to someone. But in the court, we are not permitted to use our gestures while we explain or while we answer something. Just for example, I told. So such kinds of rules are there regarding how to behave in the court. So Supreme Court is making such kinds of rules and regulations regarding the code of conduct. Rules regarding the fees to be charged in respect of proceedings in the court. So for different proceedings, there are different charges are there. Something like a service charge we can say. So for such proceedings, charges are there and it is being fixed or Supreme Court is making rules regarding those kinds of fees. Third point says that the Supreme Court ruled that the Chief Justice of India's recommendation to transfer judges of the High Courts was not binding on the government. if the recommendation was made without consulting four senior-most judges of the Supreme Court. So we will simplify this particular point into another manner, which means the Chief Justice of Supreme Court must consult with minimum four senior-most judges in case of transfer of judges of the High Court. And Supreme Court Chief Justice is making a recommendation with the consulting of four senior-most judges, and he communicated it with the government, and government has to consider it. It will be a binding on the government. But if the Chief Justice of Supreme Court is making his recommendation without consulting four senior-most judges in the case of transfer of judges of the High Court, the government is not having any force, or there is no binding on the government in the transfer of judges. So this is an administrative function of the Supreme Court. So if the Chief Justice has to transfer a judge from High Court, if the Chief Justice has to give such an order or such a request to the central government, he has to consult with four senior-most judges. Without consulting four senior-most judges, if he is making any recommendation, the central government is not having any responsibility over that. But if the Chief Justice is making a recommendation with the consultation of senior-most judges, four senior-most judges, there the central government is responsible and they have to act according to the recommendation of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. So I think the third point is very clear to you. The fourth point says that Supreme Court simplified the procedures in public interest litigation. You might be knowing what is meant by litigation. Litigation means the business, the activities of the Supreme Court. So they have simplified the procedures. For better understanding, I'll tell you with an example. A person can register a case simply by writing on a postcard or application stating his complaint. So we need not to go to the Supreme Court, we need not to hire an advocate, we need not to file an FIR in the police station, nothing is needed. But in a simple postcard, we write our complaint and send to the Supreme Court. And if it is a serious matter, if the Supreme Court feels that it is an important problem in which there is public interest and in which the Supreme Court has to take necessary steps, definitely the Supreme Court will take action. That's what is meant by public interest litigation. So all the procedures of the Supreme Court has simplified, where even the least person of the country can approach the Supreme Court for getting justice. So once we send such a postcard in which we write our complaint and sending it to the Supreme Court will be registered, or that particular case will be registered, and necessary orders will be passed by the Supreme Court. The grievance of women, children, bonded laborers and other workers section are given attention under the scheme. The grievance of women, children, bonded laborers and other weaker sections are given attention under the scheme. So according to the public interest litigation, even the weaker section, the smallest group, especially the women, children, bonded laborers and other weaker sections, all this group of people are being considered. Special attention will be given according to this PIL scheme. So these are the different points related to the administrative and supervisory functions. Dear students, I think you are very clear about the points which we have discussed in today's class. So with this, we are winding up or completed this chapter. In the next class, we will be going to discuss a new chapter, a new topic. Still then, I would like to sign off. Thank you.